Hey folks, Chase from Chase Base here. It's mid-November 2024 and we have come out with so many new products in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So we figured we'd recap it just kind of by chassis. In this video, we're gonna go over the ZN6 and ZN8 chassis, which is the 8.6 GR86 BRZ. We're gonna go over the C5, C6 Corvette, the R34 Skyline, which some of that includes R32 and 33, and then the S2000. So the first thing on the list is a oil cooler kit. It comes with everything that you need. A lot of kits will just be sandwich adapter, lines, and a cooler. Ours is bracket, duct, the spacer, it's a thermostatic cooler and everything. And actually for this engine, because it has some oil cooling problems in some situations, we're offering dual oil coolers. So you'll see this commonly on rotaries like 13B, 20B, but you can get single or a dual cooler. This one is our drift car, so we have 2 oil coolers. So we've got an oil cooler there, and then the crossover line goes over there, and then returns back to the engine. There's actually no pressure loss with this setup. High flow lines, high flow cooler, it's all good. We've been able to drop temperatures over 20 degrees Fahrenheit with this. It's incredible.
That's wrong. I'm wrong. It actually is 40 degrees. It went from over 260 to under 220 with a dual oil cooler, and that's in F, Fahrenheit.
The next one is a dual side oil catch can kit specific for this engine. So it includes everything that you need. And this fits the first gen and the second gen. So 8.6 FRS BRZ and then the new GR86 BRZ with the FA24. This is something that every kind of high performance or engine that's being used needs as a catch can, but we wanted to make one specifically for this so it's easier to install and they're very much needed on the FA20 and FA24. We're using ethanol resistant hose. It's a high-end Gates hose. We include the adapter for the block, so it comes out and vents that portion. And there's another portion that comes out underneath the AC compressor, and it comes into there. So we have this L fitting that we've made, and that makes it to where we can use one catch can, and then it returns back to the engine through here, of course filtering out all of the oil so you don't bring that oil back. But it comes back into the engine, either into the turbo intake or the NA intake that would sit right here. The tilt and clutch master cylinder adapter for this chassis, very important. It's got an improved stroke, so you're able to have a more precise engagement of the master cylinder. This is also good for JZ swaps, LS swaps. This is of course FA, but we have a twin disc in the car, so it was needed. It's got a bunch of different options. We have the stock sizing option, an upgraded sizing option like this car would use, which is 3/4. And there's also options for how the reservoir goes on. So it would be either for stock master cylinder or our dual piston like this, and it includes a bracket and everything. Super inclusive, super awesome. And that brings me to the other product, which is a clutch line. So the clutch line we've made for the stock transmission, we make it for K-Series transmission, LS, JZ, and this is a CD09 on the FA because we kept breaking transmissions because this makes 400 horsepower. But we make it for all the different versions, and our clutch line works for that product and the stock master cylinder. There's just a 3/8 24 threads on that master cylinder and M10 threads on the stock master cylinder. So we include a banjo on both so it works seamlessly. Something big that we're excited about too is a Tilton flow control valve or delay valve. That is something that we put on every car here, and it can save your drivetrain. That's transmission, drive shaft, axles, diff, everything. It basically, it's a kind of restrictor and it delays the shock onto your drivetrain. So when you dump the clutch or let out the clutch, typically it all goes to the drivetrain immediately. The tilt and delay valve, it literally is what it is. It delays the shock to your drivetrain. So you'll even feel it on your clutch sometimes. You'll let it out and it kind of just drags just a little bit. It doesn't make a difference in clutch kicks if you're drifting or anything, but it delays everything. It's offered for this and everything that I just listed and more. We make caliper lines for every chassis we support that's on our website. Something new that we're doing that's highly requested is extended for drift. And that just means that when we have the LCA and knuckle on these cars with the angle kit, everything kind of gets dragged out and the stock brake line or even our brake line is too short. So what we do is we typically add about 3 or 4 inches, and sometimes we change the angle. You'll notice that on this one, it changes to a 90 banjo like that. The stock one in the normal kit is just a normal straight banjo. So we make some small changes to it to where when you go full lock and you use all that angle, the brake line is not getting pulled or anything like that, because that'll actually affect your brake feel if everything's getting pulled. So pretty simple product, but very effective. And concluding for the ZN6 and ZN8, all the new products, is our OEMC brake line relocation kit and ABS delete. OEMC means OE master cylinder. So this retains the booster. Obviously we don't have that on any car here because, you know, our dual piston is just best, and I don't really know why you'd want to keep power brakes. I guess you just want to go slower on track or have really bad pedal feel. I don't really know why buy our dual piston, but if you keep the OE master cylinder, we make a kit for it, and it includes a proportioning valve and everything you need. And yeah, if you want to keep it for whatever reason, we make it. Next on our list of chassis and new products is the C5 and C6 Corvette. This is the first American car that we're making products for. So very proud of that. I don't know what happened here, but the engine's all taken apart. I think we blew it up. Let's just close that and we'll talk about it. America. Oh, I'm wearing a shirt too. So we have not come out with it yet, but we are making a dual piston manual brake for the car. But if you do keep power brakes, we make a OEMC brake line relocation and ABS delete. It includes proportioning valve and all the lines up to the caliper lines, the fender well. And then we make those lines too. So we came out with the caliper lines for stock setup, which would be any street car, road race car, time attack, just basically stock replacement 3AN, which improves pedal feel. And then we make the extended for drift version. So we add about 3 inches to the caliper lines, and we change the angle on the caliper itself to basically sweep better and not pull in any way. Another major problem-solving product that we made for the C5, C6 chassis is a clutch line. So this includes the clutch line, which goes clutch master cylinder to the slave cylinder, and then you have the bleeder line too. This was massive because we didn't feel like taking apart the transmission when we first got this and first started drifting and testing the other products, and that clutch line kept popping off. It's just a plastic piece. It's 3 pieces all the way down. The bleeder's in a terrible spot. So our clutch line goes from the master cylinder directly to the slave cylinder, the throwout bearing inside the transmission, and the bleeder line comes out and gives you tons of slack to where it makes everything easier to bleed. So a small, subtle investment that is massively effective. And we also make a tilt and delay valve add-on for that product. So you can save your transmission, your axles, all that stuff. It decreases the shock of all that. Our handbrake bracket and handbrake brake line kit are the next products on the list. So we make a bracket that bolts right onto the chassis and reinforces the tunnel so that you can pull the handbrake like this and it doesn't pull the tunnel up, and it creates a very solid platform for the handbrake to sit. And it uses our reverse mount handbrake, no changes there. The handbrake brake line kit comes in 3 different options. It's gonna come from the ABS unit, the chase bay's proportioning valve if you have our OEMC brake line ABS delete kit or our dual piston kit. And then it comes from the master cylinder back, 2 bulkheads back here in the trunk area, and then it goes straight into the calipers from the rear, or to the rear. And that is the kind of standalone version of the kit. So if it's inline, we run it from the front, and if it's standalone, it has a reservoir up here. In either case, it's gonna come from the master cylinder back to the caliper lines. We use 90 bulkheads to seal the area back there so that any smoke isn't gonna come into the chassis. So other people who make this product, it's just 2 lines that go to the back. And we don't really believe in that. We wanna seal it off, make it proper. And a lot of people are probably gonna ask why the interior is red. I don't know. Let me get out of here. Ugh. Is my mic still on? I sat on it. We've been working on the Skyline R34 ton, and luckily a lot of the products that we've made here came from the R32 that we developed on, and then between the 2 of them, we've determined a lot of them work on R33. So to start here, the power steering kit is something that we're really excited about. When we got the car, there was power steering fluid everywhere. The high pressure hose was kind of sweating. Over time, that can happen to the stock hoses. So we make a full power steering kit from rack to pump to reservoir, and we offer an optional cooler, which we highly recommend for anybody who's using their car on track and or drifting it. And lastly, of course, the triple baffled reservoir that we've developed over the last decade is implemented onto this. We make an R34 specific bracket. This is also going to fit R33 and R32. This is an extremely developed power steering reservoir, probably used on more motorsport chassis than any other power steering reservoir. As always, everything is BMRS hose and hose ends, and all the adapters that we make are mil-spec anodizing and class 3A threads, so you're getting nothing but the best. The dual piston brake booster delete was an easy implementation on this chassis because it's the same as S chassis and tons of other stuff. We make a brake line relocation and an ABS delete for the dual piston. We also make a clutch master cylinder adapter now for this. So it adapts a Tilton clutch master cylinder. We have options for 5/8 and 3/4 master cylinders. And the external reservoir, we have an option to bolt onto the OEMC, which is the OE master cylinder, and the dual piston. That's all. We've also made a clutch line for this chassis for the Tilton master cylinder and the OE master cylinder. And we've created options for the all-wheel drive and the rear-wheel drive chassis. So that means now that we make them for R32, 33, and 34. For those that are keeping the OEM master cylinder, we do make an ABS delete and brake line relocation for that. So we obviously go dual piston on everything, but we understand if you want to keep power brakes, and we do make that product. Last on the list is the caliper lines. So pretty simple setup, but very effective. It can improve your pedal feel and all that fun stuff. And you can't see it because this beautiful Urus Aero. Oopsie. I've always wanted an S2000, and now I have one, and I barely drive it. But we make a ton of products for it now, so that's cool. Let's start off with the dual piston brake booster delete. So the dual piston is an incredible product. Bolts right into the S2000. It includes an adjustable proportioning valve. We make a brake line relocation and ABS delete. We also make an ABS keep kit, which just includes 2 lines to go from the dual piston to the ABS unit. It works great with ABS, works great without it, whatever you want to do. We also make a Tilton clutch master cylinder adapter. So we make the plate, we provide the master cylinder if you so choose. We also include the external reservoir option. And we make the bracket that bolts to the dual piston like this. And we also make a bracket that bolts to the OE master cylinder if you want to keep that. Our clutch line is a fantastic addition to this. The stock clutch line does not work with the Tilton clutch master cylinder adapter. The clutch line that we make works with the stock clutch master cylinder and the Tilton clutch master cylinder. This is a great product because it makes the clutch line one piece instead of the 3-piece. So it's easier to bleed, gives you improved pedal feel, looks great, can't go wrong. Caliper brake lines, very important for all the other prior things that we mentioned. So we make the caliper brake lines for this. It just connects to our brake lines in the fender well and then goes directly to the caliper lines. They're one piece, they're 3AN stainless steel hose ends. Great product. Soon to come products for the C5, C6, R34, and the S2000 are oil cooler kits and oil catch can kits. So for all 3, we'll be making chassis specific versions of each of those. And as always, guys, do better.